The whistle of the departing train echoed across the barren station platform, carrying with it the last of Eliza Harper's hope. She sat motionless on the weathered bench, her carpetbag at her feet, her shawl drawn tight against the cool spring wind. All around her, life carried on, teamsters loading freight, travelers calling for their wagons, townsfolk bustling through their errands, but no one came for her. For 3 days she had waited. The letter in her pocket, creased from being read 100 times, had promised she would not be alone. A rancher named James Carver had written it. His words plain, unpolished, but filled with a kind of quiet yearning Eliza had recognized in herself. I'm a widower with a boy. I've got a ranch to keep, and a son who needs a mother. If you can come, I'll meet you at the station. If you've a heart for a hard life, I'll give you a home. It wasn't poetry, but it was something Eliza had never known, an invitation to belong. And so she had left everything, her small sewing shop in St. Louis, the whispers of neighbors who pitied her unmarried state at 27, the ache of loneliness that weighed on her every evening. She had bought a ticket west, clutched that letter as though it were a promise from heaven, and told herself she was finally walking into a life of meaning. But 3 days had passed, and James Carver had not come. Eliza's heart was breaking beneath the strain of disappointment. Every hour she sat alone on that bench, her belief in the letter crumbled a little more. Perhaps he had changed his mind. Perhaps he had written the same words to 3 other women, and she was the foolish one who'd believed. Perhaps, she thought bitterly, men's promises were no sturdier than smoke. At dusk on the 3rd day, she stood, clutching her carpetbag. She would not humiliate herself further. She would rent a room in town, find work if she could, and... A tug at her skirts startled her. She turned and looked down into the face of a boy. He was no more than 6 or 7, with tousled dark hair and solemn brown eyes that were far too old for his years. His boots were scuffed, his shirt patched at the elbows, and his small hands trembled even as he clutched her skirt with determination. "Ma'am." His voice was soft, hoarse as though unused to asking. Eliza blinked, her throat tightening. "Yes, child." The boy swallowed, and then, with a bravery that seemed too heavy for such a small frame, he asked the words that would change everything. Will you be my mama?" Eliza froze. The station faded around her, the clatter of wagons, the whistle of the wind, even the ache in her chest, all silenced by those 7 trembling words. Tears blurred her vision. "Your mama," she whispered. The boy nodded, his chin trembling though his eyes stayed steady. "My daddy sent me. He's hurt. He couldn't come hisself. But he told me you might be here. He said you were comin' to be our family." His little hands twisted in her skirt. "Please don't leave, ma'am. I need you." Her carpetbag slipped from her hand to the planks with a thud. For days she had believed herself forgotten, discarded before she had even been chosen. Yet here was proof that she had not been abandoned, not entirely. This boy, this small earnest soul with dust on his cheeks, had been sent to fetch her. Her heart, which had been breaking, shifted with a new unfamiliar ache, an ache of hope, fragile but fierce. She knelt, gathering the boy's hands into her own. His skin was warm, his palms roughened from work most children his age should not know. "What is your name?" she asked softly. "Daniel Carver," he said, his little chin lifting proudly. "But Daddy calls me Danny." Eliza brushed a lock of hair from his forehead with trembling fingers. "Danny, I thought no one was coming." "I came," he said simply, "'cause Daddy needs you. I need you too." The tears she had fought for 3 days finally spilled, sliding down her cheeks as she whispered, "Then take me to him." Danny's eyes lit with relief. He grabbed her hand, small but strong, and tugged her toward the dirt road leading west out of town. Eliza picked up her carpetbag with her free hand and followed, her steps lighter though her heart beat fast. The journey to the Carver Ranch took nearly an hour, the prairie stretching wide and quiet under a sky streaked with fading pink. Danny talked as they walked, his little voice filling the silence that had haunted her for so long. He told her about the mule that always bit if you turned your back, about the calf born last week that he wanted to name Clover, about the big cottonwood tree where he liked to climb and look out over the land. And he spoke of his father, how he worked from sunup to sundown, how he laughed sometimes but not as much since Mama died, how he had fallen from a horse last week and hurt his leg. By the time they reached the ranch, Eliza felt as though she already knew the man she had come to meet, not from the letter, but from the devotion in his son's words. The cabin was small but sturdy, its roof patched in places, smoke curling from the chimney. Danny pushed the door open without knocking and tugged her inside. The scent of wood smoke and pine filled the single-room cabin. Near the hearth, a man lay on a bed, his leg wrapped in bandages, a crutch leaning against the wall. His face was weathered, his jaw unshaven, his shoulders broad despite the weariness that etched his frame. At the sound of the door, his gaze lifted and collided with hers. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then his voice, deep and roughened by both pain and humility, broke the silence. "You came." Eliza's throat tightened. "I nearly gave up. I thought you'd changed your mind." "Never." His eyes softened, though his body remained tense with the effort of sitting up. "I meant every word I wrote. Only this leg kept me." He glanced at Danny, pride flickering in his gaze. "Looks like my boy delivered the message." Danny puffed his chest. "I found her, Daddy. I asked her like you said." The rancher's eyes returned to Eliza, steady and searching. "Thank you for not turning him away." Eliza set down her carpetbag, her hands twisting in her shawl. She crossed the room slowly, uncertain yet drawn, until she stood beside his bed. Up close, she saw the lines of grief etched around his eyes, the strength that hardship had carved into him. And she saw something else, a longing, quiet but true. "I don't know what kind of woman you hoped for," she whispered, her voice trembling, "but I will do my best." James Carver's hand, rough and calloused, reached for hers. His fingers curled gently around her own. "I don't need perfect," he said simply. "Just someone with a good heart. And I can see you have that." Her breath caught. For the first time in years, she felt truly seen. That night, she cooked from the meager stores in the cupboard, cornbread and beans, and sat at the table with father and son. Danny chattered happily between bites, James listening with quiet pride, and Eliza felt warmth seep into the corners of her soul where loneliness had long dwelled. In the weeks that followed, she slipped into their lives as though she had always belonged. She fetched water, mended clothes, and tended the mule that indeed nipped if unwatched. She read aloud to Danny in the evenings, his head resting against her shoulder, and learned the rhythm of ranch life. James, though slowed by his injury, guided her gently, his gratitude plain in every look, every word. And as the days passed, something grew between them, something tender, built not on grand speeches but on quiet gestures. One evening, as the firelight flickered, James spoke softly. "Eliza, when I wrote that letter, I was a skin for help. For the boy, for the ranch. But now, I see I was a skin for more. I was a skin for a chance at life again. And you've given me that." Her eyes blurred with tears. She looked to Danny, who had fallen asleep on her lap, his small hand curled around her skirts as if to keep her close forever. "James," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tears, "you've given me life again too." He reached for her hand, his touch warm and certain. "Then stay. Be my wife. Be Danny's mama. Not because of a letter, but because your heart wants it." Her answer came without hesitation, rising from the deepest part of her. "Yes. Yes, I will." Danny stirred, blinking sleepily. "Does that mean you're my mama now?" Eliza gathered him into her arms, kissing his tousled hair. "Yes, Danny. If you'll have me." The boy's sleepy smile was radiant. "I been waitin' for that." James's eyes shone with quiet joy as he watched them. And in that cabin, lit by firelight and filled with the laughter of a boy who finally had his mother, Eliza Harper found what she had believed forever lost: a home, a family, and a love that would last. Her heart, once breaking, was whole again, healed by the simple, unshakable words of a child who had asked for what both of them needed most.